And ladies and gentlemen, if you're visiting, you're very welcome to Castlederg this evening. And it's heartening to see such a sea of faces here, 2 miles from the actual border between the UK and the EU. And seeing so many people here united in purpose against the undemocratic, union dismantling, economy wrecking, and practical and insanely bureaucratic Northern Ireland Protocol. At this stage, I will join in offering my thanks to the organisers for the invitation to address this gathering. And I think we should show our gratitude to West Road United Unionists for making the arrangements for this anti-protocol parade and rally here this evening. So thank you to everyone who's organised, and for everyone, including the bands, who without the bands, we're just a group of people walking down the road. So show your appreciation, ladies and gentlemen, for that. And United Unionists we must be, ladies and gentlemen. The old maxim, united we stand, divided we fall, has never been more relevant. As our opponents line up against us, Dublin, Brussels, and the litany of local parties that want to see a hard protocol, we must stand together to ensure the message to Downing Street is clear after the 5th of May. No ifs, buts, ands, or maybes. The protocol must go. This rally is the latest in a series of such events, most of which are organised on a standalone basis, and like this are locally organised by coalitions of like-minded people. More will follow. And whilst all of the rallies have been peaceful, some self-proclaimed commentators and pro-protocol politicians have expressed the view that events such as this shouldn't take place. Bizarrely, other unionists have withdrawn support for them. Friends, this is not the time for unionism to go weak at the knee. This is not the time for unionism to withdraw or protest, or for our stance to soften in opposition to the protocol. We are a broad enough family to contain different views on many issues, but on this, the union dismantling protocol, we must remain resolute and united in our opposition. And if some parties can subscribe to that, it is for them to explain to you, the public, why they even call themselves unionists. But back to the contention by some that these events shouldn't take place. Of course they should. These events will inform, they will provoke debate, they will provide a platform for fundamental democratic rights of free speech and lawful protest. Our detractors would be happy to see us silenced because they know how the protocol can be used in the advancement of their primary cause, that of a united Ireland. Brussels provides the excuse by claiming the protocol is necessary to protect trade and the integrity of the European single market. In reality, this is nothing but a Trojan horse. The protocol is in fact a means of and a lesson in maximising the obstacles and difficulties for any EU member state, any EU country with any notion of leaving the Hotel California of emerging federal states. And as the song says, you can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. And in terms of EU membership, hasn't this proved to be the case for Northern Ireland? As a result of the protocol, we are trapped in the EU customs union, subject to the EU's VAT regime and EU laws that are applied by EU courts. But we can have no say in the formulation of these laws, regardless of the effects they will have on us. In essence, the protocol is a punishment meted out by the EU in response to the British people having what they would consider the audacity to vote in a free election to exit a club that started as a common market, but which has morphed into something that is a couple of steps away from the United States of Europe. And in response, when the UK voted as one nation in 2016 to leave, the financial equilibrium of the EU was disrupted. And that's where the house of cards started to fall in. The easier and more attractive option for Brussels was to make the UK's exit from the EU as difficult as possible, and so we entered into a period of negotiations which should have been handled so much better but which enabled the Bureaucrats to devise a plan to divide the UK, shamefully propped up by Dublin with a veiled threat of a return to Republican terrorism on the border should the British government deliver on the will of its people. And as a border community here in Castlederg, we are only too aware of the role Dublin played in facilitating Republican terrorism in the past. As a safe haven, through state arms acquisition, the existence of lax or non-existent security on the border, and its indefensible extradition policy. We are well aware that the Dublin government continues to dodge the difficult questions about the calls for inquiries into collusion between members of the Garda and IRA murder gangs. But by claiming even a CCTV camera on the land border would cause a return to terrorism, the then Irish Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, was making an implicit threat that his country would again be found to be wanting when it came to acting against Republican murder squads operating along the border. In Castlederg and in many frontier towns, we don't need to be reminded because we haven't forgotten. Aside from the overarching constitutional difficulties, ladies and gentlemen, that have resulted from the protocol, it is causing profound damage to Northern Ireland's economy. 200 British companies have recently stopped trading with Northern Ireland. Why? Because of the protocol-related bureaucracy that is now involved with trading between two constituent parts of the same country. And let me give you a couple of examples that I have heard over recent weeks. Someone I know who works in college tells me that crates that are used to transport poultry from Northern Ireland to GB are now the subject of customs declarations before they can be returned to Northern Ireland empty. Bureaucracy that's unnecessary. And another who shows pedigree cattle in the north of England tells me if he takes his champion cattle to market in Carlisle and they don't sell, he can no longer bring them straight home to Newton Stewart. They have to stay in GB for 6 months. Think about the additional costs involved with all of that. Friends, the protocol is a disaster for trade, and in turn, it is exacerbating the cost of living crisis. Less competition means less choice for consumers and for businesses, and to shortages in supply. Shortages of supply cause production delays, leading to inefficiencies and cost increases. And where do those cost increases ultimately end up? Hurting the consumer, hurting the public. And it's making the situation in Northern Ireland all the worse because of the existence of the protocol. And this cannot be allowed to continue. Perhaps it's no surprise that the beneficiaries of protocol-related disruption are amongst its chief cheerleaders. Last year, trade from NI to the Republic of Ireland increased by 65%. The bad news for us is there's more and worse to come, as the grace periods associated with the implementation of the withdrawal agreement come to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, as we approach the Assembly election in a fortnight's time, there is talk of the increasing prospects of a border poll if Sinn Féin were to emerge as the largest party. I believe the case for the Union is strong enough to withstand any such electoral test. So, it's not a future border poll that I feel we should be concerned about. It's the constitutional change that has already occurred without the consent of the people, and change that is yet to occur that we must reject before it beds in further. There is no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, we live in challenging times. The protocol has been foisted upon us and is another part of the process designed to prize Northern Ireland from its rightful place in the United Kingdom. The election in a fortnight's time is crucial. The British government and our opponents will be watching the results carefully. And we can only afford to send back one message through the ballot box, and it is that the protocol must go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.